Due to the explicit content, viewer discretion is advised.
Hello guys, I'm fucking back. As you can see, I'm somewhere in the fucking Russia, or wherever the fuck crazy sent me with this ticket plane. And hello, this is my show, Late News with Jacket. And the subject is health. Unvaccinated boy infected with deadness and months in hospital, costing family nearly $1 M. An unvaccinated 6-year-old Oregon boy infected with deadness and about 2 months in the hospital M- during which time his family racked up nearly $1 million in hospital bills, a case report reveals. The report, released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Thursday, reveals that the boy cut his forehead while playing on a farm back in 2017. The wound was clean and sutured at home, but 6 days later, the boy had episodes of crying, jaw clenching, involuntary muscle spasms and other symptoms, the report said. Later that day, the boy started having trouble breathing, and his parents contacted emergency medical services, who air transported him to a pediatric medical center. He was soon diagnosed with deadness, a serious bacterial infection that causes painful muscle spasms and can lead to death and but is preventable by vaccine. During his time at the hospital, the boy requested water but couldn't drink it because of his lockjaw. A tube was placed down his windpipe and he was hooked up to a machine that helped his breathing. He was also given a dose of the diphtheria, tetanus and pertussis (TAPI) vaccine, as well as tetanus immune globulin, a medication made up of antibodies against the infection. The boy was also placed in a darkened room with earplugs and minimal stimulation, as stimulation increased the intensity of his spasms, the CDC report said. During his time at the hospital, things got worse before they got better. The boy experienced such strong spasms that his neck and back arched, his blood pressure and heart rate skyrocketed and so did his fever. In total, he required 57 days of inpatient acute care, including 47 days in the intensive care unit. The entire bill came to a whopping $811,929. It's unclear what, if any, type of insurance the family has. A month after inpatient rehabilitation, the boy was able to go back to his normal activities, including running and bicycling. But despite the trying ordeal and the hefty bill, his parents chose not to have their son receive a second dose of the TAPI vaccine and or any other recommended immunizations, the report said. Becoming infected with deadness doesn't make someone immune for life and a person can be infected multiple times, if not vaccinated. Well, Jesus fucking Christ. Let's move on. In the next thing. Richmond doctor says new depression drug has profound impact. Richmond, WWPT. Depression affects millions of Americans each day. This week the Food and Drug Administration approved a new drug some say will be life-changing. I went from not wanting to be alive to now I don't think about not being alive, Barbara Bailey said. I went back to look at how many medicines I've tried and it's been 16 medicine over 20 years. Bailey has been in a battle for decades after being diagnosed with treatment-resistant depression and chronic migraines that left her in bed 80% of the week. I didn't have any goals, I just wanted to survive minute to minute, Bailey said. Bailey believes it wasn't, until she came across Dr. Patrick Oliver and his ketamine therapy, that she could only see the light. I wasn't afraid that it was a new thing, I wasn't afraid it was a new procedure, Bailey said. I was just terrified it wasn't going to work, because I didn't know what that meant at that point, and I didn't know what I was going to do. It was a eureka moment, Oliver said. When you hear something too good to be true you are natural skeptical, but when you talk to patients like Barbara you see the profound impact they have had. Oliver said it's a game-changing treatment far different from any medicines out. It's a totally different way of looking. The difference of working on a telegraph versus a telephone versus a text, Oliver said. It's a different way the brain uses to communicate. This seems to target people in a rapid fashion. Patients come in and get the medicine through and forth under the careful watch of a doctor. For the first time in years the Food and Drug Administration approved a new drug by Johnson & Johnson called esketamine that's in the form of a nasal spray. I think the spray is a good option for many people, Oliver said. It will still be office administered but I think it can still be done in a safe and effective manner. Although effective, the spray might be pricey. It's between $4,700 and $6,500 for the first month versus an fourth infusion, and 6 infusions can be done for less than $3,000, Oliver said. Oliver is pushing for other doctors and psychiatrists to turn to what he calls a life-saving treatment. Patients like Bailey are thankful, because she now has hope for tomorrow. It's hard to be a naysayer when it's your last resort, Bailey said. Well damn. Next thing is, unvaccinated student infects at least 21 people with measles in New York City. An unvaccinated student who contracted measles recently infected at least 21 people with the virus at a school in New York City. The outbreak occurred at Yeshiva Genelef Yaakov in Williamsburg last week and comes as the city continues to battle its largest measles flare-up in a decade, the New York Times reported Thursday. The almost 2 dozen people who were infected were not vaccinated either, according to the Times, which reported that the student did not exhibit the symptoms of the virus while in class. Though public officials and health experts have advised New York City schools against admitting students who have not been vaccinated for measles, the school reportedly ignored the advice. But the city's health department told the newspaper that the school has since chosen to comply with the emergency measure. According to the Times, the outbreak has fueled concerns about the number of people in the city's Orthodox Jewish communities who are not vaccinated. In the past few months, nearly 200 measles cases have been recorded in the state and 133 in New York City involving people between the ages of 6 months and 59 years and according to the newspaper. Health department officials say almost 10,000 people across the city have been vaccinated since fall 2018, and more than 7,000 of those residents reportedly live in Williamsburg and Borough Park, the two areas most affected by the measles outbreak. The report comes as lawmakers in the United States attempt to tackle what has been considered a growing public health threat as measles outbreaks grow across the country. Holy shit, that's fucking dangerous, am I right? Key next thing is, what's a cure, anyway? The blockbuster news that a second HIV patient is in full remission shows us the limitations of our language. An HIV cure remains elusive, such as the modest opening of a splashy paper published yesterday in Nature. The scientists go on to describe a remarkable feat. A man with HIV has been in remission for a full year and a half, following a bone marrow transplant, during which he took none of the antiretroviral drugs that are typically needed to manage the infection. It is no doubt great news for this field of science, and for this one man. But, the authors write, it is premature to conclude that this patient has been cured. Nevertheless, HIV is reported cured in a second patient, announced the New York Times in the headline of its story that broke the news ahead of the journal report. That headline let even President Trump's tweet in the news, for once, seemed entirely measured. Such great news for so many. Tremendous progress being made. The circumstances of this patient, and the other who received a bone marrow transplant in 2007 and has been in HIV remission since, are remarkably specific. They both received the transplants in order to treat cancer. And even all the HIV patients that received similar transplants, they are the only two for whom it has so far worked to quell the infection. In other cases, the virus has come back. And, of course, in the most recent case, it remains to be seen if the virus will remain in remission in the years to come. An article, written by Apanor Mandavili and along with her helpful and clear companion explainer on what all this actually means for people and reports all this nuance. The piece explains that, even if it works in the long term for these individuals, it isn't practical for most patients anyway and it's risky and comes with side effects, while drugs that effectively control infection already exist. It also explains why it's throwing around the word cure at all for one, the patient himself speaks of it as a cure. I never thought that there would be a cure during my lifetime, he wrote in an email to the paper. And, as Mandavili explains, in interviews, most experts are calling it a cure, with the caveat that it is hard to know how to define the word when there are only 2 known instances. Far from an example of overzealous headlining, then, this HIV news makes a compelling case that we just plain need more words for our idea of cure in the first place. We need to be able to better express all the nuances between the two of implementation of a risky tactic that can sometimes result in long-term remission, and the more colloquial understanding of a practical repeatable procedure that would be widely applicable. Indeed, health journalist Gary Squitzer, founder of the, sadly no longer publishing, media watchdog site Health News Review, has suggested the word cure is so ineffective and accurately conveying meaning that it should be taken off the table in health journalism entirely. It's loaded and ill-defined, he argues, placing it at the top of his list of 7 words you shouldn't use in medical news. Journalists and organizations each grappled with how to use the word. Mox ran cured in the headline and in quotation marks. It's an apparent cure, says the Los Angeles Times. A functional cure, notes a press release from an AIDS. An HIV cure may one day be possible, offers a New Scientist headline. NBC News went so far as to call the patient confirmed to be cured, but in the same breath cautioning that it does not mean a widely available cure is on the horizon anytime soon. What this cure does represent is a tantalizing line of scientific inquiry, perhaps good news for a few patients, and maybe far down the line, a basis for some new treatment options. In the meantime, the flurry around this news stands to dwarf more practically important matters in HIV treatment. As Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, told NBC News, a big breakthrough is already here in exquisitely effective drugs that allow the majority of people who take them to lead regular lives. His focus is getting more people access to those. Goddamn. Alright, next thing is zombie deer disease spreading across the US. Zombie deer steadily approaching Texas San Antonio. Cab. Our worst fears have come true. Zombie deer are real and they are coming for us. Well, kind of. According to a recent post in the Daily Mail, a disease known as chronic waste disease (CWD), commonly known as zombie deer disease, has been reported in 24 U.S. states and 2 Canadian provinces. The illness attacks the brain, spinal cord, and other tissues in deer, elk and moose. Ultimately, before CWP kills the animal, they first start to lose weight rapidly. Additionally, their coordination becomes unbalanced, and they may become aggressive. In their website, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) claims that, while CWP has not affected humans, there is a concern that people who come in contact with infected animals may potentially be at risk of infection. To date, there have been no reported cases of CWP infection in people. However, animal studies suggest CWP poses a risk to some types of non-human primates, like monkeys, that eat meat from CWP-infected animals or come in contact with brain or body fluids from infected deer or elk. These studies raise concerns that there may also be a risk to people. CDC released a map, marking in red, where there have been reports of CWP in the U.S. Compared to northern states, the illness does not seem to pose much of a threat in Texas. Nonetheless, the map reveals a small outbreak in Hill Country including Gallup, El Paso and Medina. Here's a pic. CDC's website also claims that, while the occurrence of CWP is comparatively small, it is nothing to ignore. Nationwide, the overall occurrence of CWP in free-ranging deer and elk is relatively low. However, in several locations where the disease is established, infection rates may exceed 10%, 1 in 10, and localized infection rates of more than 25%, 1 in 4, have been reported. The infection rates among some captive deer can be much higher, with a rate of 79%, nearly 4 in 5, reported from at least one captive herd. Fortunately, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department (TWPD) has already taken precautions of CWP. In fact, their website exclusively mentions the first outbreak of CWP in Texas was found in 2012 in free-ranging mule deer in the Huaco Mountains of far west Texas. Since then, TWPD's website says they've set up regulations to ensure a smooth capture of deer that may be susceptible to CWP. With the discovery of CWP in a captive deer breeding facility in south central Texas, the Texas Parks and Wildlife (TPW) Commission adopted comprehensive CWP management rules on June 20, 2016. Developed through a collaborative process that involved substantial stakeholder input, these rules address CWP management associated with permitting programs that authorize intensive deer management activities. The website also emphasizes how committed TWPD is in combating CWP through their extensive plan. This management plan is intended to be dynamic. Management strategies described within are likely to change, as both the epidemiology and management of this disease become better understood through time. Specific response plans may be developed and incorporated into this plan following local or regional discoveries of CWP. 3 major goals of this CWP management plan are: 1. Minimize CWP risks to the wild and captive white-tailed deer, mule deer, and other susceptible species in Texas. 2. Establish and maintain support for prudent CWP management with hunters, landowners, and other stakeholders. 3. Minimize direct and indirect impacts of CWP to hunting-related economies, and conservation in Texas. Well, holy fucking shit, we're gonna have a fucking zombie outbreak really soon. But I'm in fucking Russia, so I guess United States is fucked. But I'm gonna be back soon. Anyway, next thing is, wait a second, what the fuck? Oh shit, it's the Russian cops. I gotta stop the recording. Oh yes, it's them. Let's see how they like this. It's time for me to prepare. Oh yes, this armor is good.
A few moments later.
Okay, it's time for me to contact Crazy. Fuck, how does this work again? Hello, Crazy?
Yes, Jacket, I can hear you.
Listen, man. Russian cops are coming. What do I do?
Did you dress up?
Yes.
You know the plan. Execute.
Okay, die, then.
Yes, see you later.
Let's see how they like grenades. Jesus fucking Christ, it's on a blow. Jesus fucking Christ. Are they dead? Okay, good. Ooh, is that a light machine gun? Have that my face. Those shit, they are firing back. What is LMG? It's time for M4A1. You hate it, so gotta reload. Gosh, it's back of units. What the fuck? Are they climbing my wall? Excuse me, I think this belongs to you. Bugga. Surprise, motherfuckers. Holy shit, I did all.
Глазась на землю. Раки вверх.
Just kidding, all fuck you. It's time to kill these faggots. You can't shoot these army faggots. God fucking damn, we gotta reload. God damn it, you're out again. Die, you stupid faggot. Well, that's it for the fucking cops. No more ammo left. Fuck you, M4A1. God damn it, more fucking faggots. Die. Looks like you ran out of ammo. Prepare to die, faggot. Oh shit. Wow, wait. Oh no, you don't kick me in the nuts. No. Fuck you, retarded faggot. Jesus fucking Christ, I hope there won't be any fucking faggots anymore. It's time for C4. Wow, what the fuck? Jesus, this couldn't get any fucking better. Oh yeah, I forgot.